Welcome to the Blueprint Breakers podcast. If you're done living by the traditional script or you're starting to question it, you're in the right place. This is where we talk about what comes next: pre-retirement, life design, reclaiming your time, your energy, and your freedom. Real conversations, real stories, real connection for women in midlife and beyond who are ready for a different kind of next chapter. My name is Amy Palmer. I am your host and facilitator for these conversations. To stay connected and find your people, come join us at community.blueprintbreakers.com. 100 episodes. 100 episodes of the Blueprint Breakers podcast. If you had told me this during episode 1, I probably would not. Maybe I would have believed it. I don't know. It's hard to say. I wanted to take some time today to really celebrate this milestone and just sort of relish in the achievement of it, because it has absolutely taken a commitment, a long commitment and persistence and resilience. So I launched this podcast in late 2022, and it was originally called the Modern Elder Woman Podcast. And the reason why I launched it was because of what I had just experienced for years leading up to that point. I had reached burnout, depression, overwhelm. I was experiencing perimenopause, menopause, and all of it was coming together. And I was at a low point in my life until I decided to take a sabbatical. I left my corporate executive role. I packed up all my belongings. I actually got rid of most of my belongings. I narrowed it down, sort of like hit the road, and took a sabbatical, took some time to rest. I've spoken of that a few different times on this channel. And at the end of the sabbatical, after I did my healing and I felt significantly better, I can't even tell you how much I needed that rest and that healing. But the only thing that I had clarity around was I wanted to start a podcast. And even though podcasting, there's so many of them out there, and now celebrities have gotten into it. So it's kind of made it all the more difficult for just Joe Schmo, Jill Schmo off the street to start a podcast and to make it successful. So even though all of that, I wanted a podcast because I wanted to find my voice. I wanted to help other women who were in a similar situation that I was. And I wanted to connect with experts so that I could learn about some of the stuff that I was trying to get better at. With everything that I was going through with my depression and still trying to overachieve at work and my burnout and my menopause, all of that, I struggled to find resources that specifically spoke to a woman my age who was single, no partner, and who did not have children. Because the challenges that I was facing, whether it was thinking about retirement planning, like I wanted to think ahead in a healthy manner. I wanted to think about what it was going to look like to age solo, to be a solo ager. I wanted to figure out how to navigate menopause as a single woman and potentially like dating and in relationships and how that was all going to work out. I was also managing the grief of being childless, not by choice, and very little, I could not find resources and reassurances. There's definitely resources for childless women. There's resources for menopause. There's resources for single women. There's resources for people sort of wanting to pivot and hitting that wall. There wasn't anything that was bringing that all together under the nuanced lens of being a solo woman without a family. And many of my episodes got into the nuances of that. So that is what took me on my journey. I relatively quickly changed the name of the podcast with a rebrand and a relaunch. The term blueprint breakers was born early on in the podcast, and I really considered those women who were rewriting the script. They were breaking the blueprint. They were living a life outside of what traditional society expected them to do. And I really, really wanted to honor them and celebrate them in this podcast. So I relaunched it just like a few months after the original launch. And again, my intent was never to monetize this. I mean, that was not my goal. I really wanted to see where it took me, see who I would meet, see what kind of ideas I would get along the way, see how it evolved. And it has more than paid off. It has more than rewarded me for all the efforts that I put into it. And I want to thank you, the listener. I've learned so much about you over these last few years as I have been interacting with you, talking with you, meeting some of you, interviewing some of you for this podcast, and connecting with you on different platforms. Here's what I've learned. There are so many women over the age of 45 who are not quite ready to retire yet because emotionally they're not ready, mentally they're not ready, but also financially they're not ready. So they still need to be earning money, generating an income. And in the meantime, there's a lot of women who are just kind of miserable with where they're at. Either they're just pushing through and they're thinking, okay, I just got to do this for 10 more years. I just got to hang in there. I've got so many people depending on me. So there's so many of you that are working so freaking hard. So I've learned that. Absolutely. I mean, I kind of knew it, but it's definitely been validated as you've been sharing your stories, as I've been getting to know you more. You are very, very hard workers. You have so much on your plate. And the term blueprint breakers, while I want to make sure that my solo women out there still feel seen and heard and understood, I also want to expand to all women who are feeling just sort of like outside the norm, outside of the societal expectations. Something about how we were conditioned is not working anymore. It's not fitting right. It's not feeling right. And to me, that's what Blueprint Breakers has evolved to include so many of us. So I've learned that about you. The other thing I've learned about you is you do not take a break. You do not take a rest. Whew. I have had, I've shared my story so many times about how life-changing, life-saving, and life-changing my sabbatical was. And my sabbatical grew into a grown-up gap year. And that grown-up gap year evolved into my digital nomad lifestyle, which is part of the pre-retirement life that I've designed for myself. So everything that I've been putting together started from rest, started from taking a break, started from getting quiet, pausing, getting silent. It all started from that. And what I've learned is that you do not take a break. In many cases, you don't take your darn PTO. You rarely take a restful vacation. Any time off that you're getting still ends up being kind of focused on other people, all the people who are depending on you and are leaning on you. And there's definitely, and I think it's like a Gen X thing and a boomer thing. So like women over 45, just conditioned to that we have to earn rest. We have to earn that break. We have to earn the ability to pause. And I I I don't believe that. And I have been working hard these last few years to help to convince you that you deserve a break today. You deserve a break today. Does anybody remember that old marketing slogan? I think it was McDonald's. Yes, you deserve a break today. And I've been really trying to help you figure that out. I've built so many like resources around this. My first ebook, Heal and Restore, the 7-Step Guide to Joy, is all about preparing for my sabbatical. And my Grown Up Gap Year playbook is all about how to design your grown up gap year. If you want to check out the things that I put together at amypalmer.bio, I have them linked there. But I've been really preaching that you need to take a break. And especially to the women who have so many people depending on them, whether it's parents, whether it's kids, whether it's coworkers, whether it's other relatives, whether it's friends, so many people leaning on you. And you've been conditioned that your role is taking care of all of these people. And in that is also sort of that people pleaser tendency. So we've got a lot of that going on as well. So I've learned that. So I guess I just really learned that there's so many of us who need to take this break. We need to take a pause. We need to reassess. We need to look at the life that we're living right now. And we don't need to keep trudging forward for the next 5, 10, 15 years. We can have joy now, and we can build a life that incorporates the joy into it. I am living proof of that. I am doing that right now. And this podcast, Blueprint Breakers, has been, wow, it's been a huge part of that for me. Just every step of the way as I've learned something new. I've talked to experts on preparing for retirement. I've talked to financial experts. I've talked to caregiver experts, not just caregivers for our parents, but caregivers for ourselves as we prepare to get older. I've talked to menopause experts. I've talked to mindset experts. I've talked to experts about launching your own consulting business. I've talked to experts on launching your own content creation business. I've talked to dating and relationship experts. I've talked to travel experts. I mean, I have covered so much ground on this podcast, and primarily female experts. There's been 2 men on this I've had on this podcast. Other than that, it's been all female experts, and really amplifying their voices and learning from them. There is just a treasure trove of information in the library of the Blueprint Breakers podcast. I go back and I re-listened to the first episode, which was called Words Matter. And it was all around the idea and the concept that there was no flattering term or phrase for my demographic of woman, meaning over 45, single, no kids. And I sort of explored some of that. And when I go back to listen to that episode, I hear the pain. I do hear the pain that I was still in terms of trying to lead the charge to have our community, us solo women, have us be seen and heard and understood. I really wanted to change the narrative. And I feel like things have changed in the last 3.5 years. And there are more women talking about these things, which is wonderful. I'm pausing because I'm trying to figure out, I'm trying to figure out if it's the world that's changed, if it's been external changes or if it's been internal and my own perspective on things. I feel like personally, I have less of a need to be understood as a solo woman over 40, not only over 45, I say over 45 for the podcast, over 50. I am approaching my 60th birthday at the end of this year. So I'm coming in on 60 years old, and I feel like my need to be understood is not so sharp. It's not so poignant. I understand us, and I don't feel I don't feel defensive about it. I don't feel any shame about and I feel extremely comfortable embracing it and talking about it. That's the other thing that I learned is that originally I was noticing that women in this category don't necessarily want to talk about it. I noticed a lot of that. And that was one of the reasons why I changed the name from Modern Elder Woman in the beginning, because I got a lot of backlash on the term elder woman. It had a negative connotation for a lot of people. And so there was an unwillingness to really look at that. And just, they, a lot just didn't really, really, really want to be talking about it. They didn't want to be seen in that light. And I think I'm in a place where I'm no longer trying to convince anybody of anything. I am firm in my conviction of who we are and our strength as a portion of the population. By the way, I also it's like close to impossible to find out how much of a portion of the population we are. I mean, I know that one in I think it's like 1 in 5 women over 55 don't have kids, and there's like 1 in 4 that aren't married or something like that. I can't even remember what the stats are. It's been a while since I looked it up. But I couldn't find one that showed both. I couldn't find a combination of it in a single study. And I definitely consulted with people and got a lot of statistics on a lot of things. But in terms of like combining it all together, it was hard to find. But there's a lot of us out there because I personally know a lot of us. And as I've continued on this journey, I hear from a lot of you who are in that solo category. But I'm now also serving beyond just the solo category. I'm serving all women who want to make a change, are ready for a fresh start, are ready to think of their pre-retirement life design. That's another kind of term that came up as a result of all this. Pre-retirement is that 10 to 15 years before you're ready to retire. I coined that phrase a couple months ago, and it's really resonating with us. So we'll continue to talk about that more. So I've learned a lot. I've learned a lot about you. I've learned a lot about me. And one of the things I've learned that was hard to learn, it was a hard lesson to learn, was the focus on the destination, focus on the result and the outcome. Being a high achieving woman in the corporate world, I had to be focused on results. I had to be focused on outcomes, right? Deliverables, like what's going to happen, what's the tangible result of whatever it is that I'm doing. And so it's action, 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 result. And I've spent years on that, decades doing that. And since leaving that life and living this new life, and this podcast is a perfect example of it, the fact that I decided not to put hardcore goals and expectations on this podcast, I was not pressing on it to monetize. I was not going to concern myself with the number of views and subscribers and downloads and all the things. I did not even put it on YouTube for the first 6, 7 months of its existence. So I didn't wanna think about statistics. I didn't wanna think about how I was gonna make money with it. I just wanted to figure out the journey, which is what I did. I taught myself how to do it, how to podcast. I taught myself how to create the content and the topics around it. I taught myself how to get guest experts, lots of them, and many well-known authors and speakers and coaches, figuring out how to connect with them to appear on my podcast. I taught that myself. And then on the technical side, I taught myself how to promote it, how to produce it, how to edit it, taught myself editing software, taught myself how to create promotional reels and clips and how to use those and where and when and all the things. So I taught myself all of those things and enjoyed the learning, but did not put an expectation of, all right, I'm only going to keep doing this if it brings in this money or brings in that or whatever. And I found that I I just loved the doing of it. You know how they talk about how if you would do it for free, then that's a good sign that it's like a passion, or that's how I feel, because I've been essentially doing it for free and enjoy every minute of it. Beyond that, it has paid off financially because it's led to other opportunities. It's connected with me with people that I never would have met before, which ultimately connected me to money-making opportunities. It's also, I now have a whole department of my digital creative agency that focuses on podcast production and digital content creation for businesses and clients. So I make money doing that. And that never would have started had it not been for this content, this podcast. And I've I'm just even the women that I've been able to meet in real life has been absolutely wonderful. The connections that I've been able to make that way has really made this a life-changing experience. If you are interested in pursuing a direction like this and you're not really sure how to get started, reach out to me. Send me a note. Leave me a comment on this. However you want to do it. Let me know, and I'm more than happy to help you and answer your questions. But I now believe, like with everything that I'm doing with my business, I am so much less focused on what it's going to bring me and approaching it transactionally. I'm approaching it from more of a mindset of learning and growing and evolving. I'm building my YouTube channel, my new YouTube channel that I launched in January. It became monetized after a month and a half-ish, and the monetization is very low numbers, like, we're talking pennies. And yet, I'm putting in a ton of time and energy and focus on creating content on a daily basis for my YouTube channel because I'm loving doing it, and I'm loving the people that I'm connecting with as a result. In case you don't know, what has happened is it's happened on a couple platforms, on Threads and on YouTube, where I've started to have these conversations with Gen X women and talk about these topics that are top of mind. I've been talking about pre-retirement. I've been talking about a lot of things, but some of the topics went viral on Threads. And so the idea hit me to start hosting these monthly virtual coffee chats. So I have that. If you want to join us, check it out, genxwomencoffeechat.com, genxwomencoffeechat.com. Love to have you join us. We get together the second Sunday of every month. We're a handful of months in, and it is wonderful because I discovered that through Threads, we have so many commonalities in our story, and we have so many common challenges and hurdles that we're up against in our stories. And so many of us have a yearning to connect with other like-minded women in a similar boat. And a lot of us didn't have that. So that's what these coffee chats have done. And then it's expanded over onto my YouTube channel, where a couple of the videos went viral, and I've got thousands of comments coming in from Gen X women talking about the issues that they're faced with right now and what's going on with their job, or if they've lost their job, the challenge they're having there, and how are we going to create the best pre-retirement possible. So I recently hosted a group live event that was called Permission to Pause, How to Design Your Pre-retirement. And so you can see that things are coming together. There's a community that I am sponsoring, facilitating. I mean, I don't want to say that it's my community, it's our community. I'm just trying to find the vehicles to bring us together, to have those conversations, to have the connection, to learn from each other, to ease some of the stress and anxiety that we tend to get at this age, and to expose us to ways to build a joyful life. And yeah, so that's probably a big lesson that I've learned in these last few years, because I'm like not so hung up on what is this giving me? Is my business earning X amount of dollars? Do I have X number of clients? Like I'm not as caught up with that as I was throughout my career. I am enjoying the day by day experience of talking to women, serving women, finding information for you, finding answers for you, easing some of your doubt and worry and frustration. That's just that it's been giving me joy and giving me fulfillment. So thank you for those of you who have been with me from the beginning. Oh my God, thank you, thank you, thank you for listening and following along with my journey, not just on here, but online as well. You can check out amypalmer.bio for all the different things that I have going on right now. If anything that I've talked to you about, sparks a thought, I'd love to get your thoughts and feedback. So 100, yay. Happy birthday, happy anniversary, happy whatever to Blueprint Breakers for 100 episodes. Here's to 100 more. I was going to talk about where do I see this going? And I don't know. I don't know where Blueprint Breakers is going to go next. Do I see it continuing? Absolutely. And I want to continue to evolve it. I want to have more Blueprint Breaker roundtable sessions where I have a group of you together where we talk about topics that are important to us. So many ideas to keep it going. If you want to be a part of it, drop me a line. I'd love to include you. Thank you for coming along. Thank you for listening. Thank you for sharing this episode with your friends, and follow and put in a rating wherever you watch this podcast. Oh, this is Amy Palmer from Blueprint Breakers. I just want to say, have a great week. Keep on breaking those blueprints and redesigning your own.